going to be EDG taking on RNG for the grand finals of the summer split of the LPL. This time round, to start us off, it will be EDG on the blue side, whereas RNG will be taking to the red side of Summoner's Rift.
And no surprises so far. We've already seen Karma and Jin hit the board. EDG also very well known for banning Jin on red side. I don't expect either AD carry to get their hands on that champion for the duration of this series.
I think one of the other important AD carries that we have to look at is actually the Ashe, and if she will be seen. Uzi is one of the most incredible Ashe players that I have ever seen. For someone who has a tendency to carry, is one of the most incredible Ashe players that I have ever seen. For someone who has a tendency to carry, he can play a facilitator and still carry extremely well.
And it's so great, when we were, how do RNG win this game? How do EDG setting up everyone's win conditions? It was unanimous across the board for all three of us. Uzi will win RNG a game all by himself.
Just one.
Just Uzi things.
He'll pick a game, and that's Uzi's game. Well, we're still going through this pick ban phase. Rek'Sai being banned out on the red side of the map. RNG do not want Clearlove to pick that up on the blue side of Summoner's Rift. Sivir is going to be banned out here against Uzi, and Talia is going to be the final ban that comes out from RNG.
Yeah, interesting bans now with a lot of focus towards the AD carries. One each actually does leave open plenty of options, though. Mouse locks it in. Yeah,
Mouse going to be locking in Gangplank as his first pick of choice. RNG now have a chance to respond with two big picks of themselves.
And a reminder that EDG without Pawn in that mid lane, they haven't used it as a flex since Gangplank came back into favor. That is exclusively a Mouse pick, unless they really want to throw a curveball in this final.
Yeah, internationally we've actually seen a couple of Gangplanks in mid lane, but all of them have lost, I believe. It's just very rare that we'll now see it successful. Top lane Gangplank, very high priority champion, should always be considered up there along the likes of the Echo and the Shen that can also be picked.
And that's something that's very commonly banned out against EDG as well when they're on the blue side of Summoner's Rift.
But it's just the ridiculous amount of damage that Gangplank's able to put around the map with his ultimate alone. I mean, he can pretty much miss every single keg, but he'll still do more damage than majority of champions if he hits that ultimate in key locations.
RNG, though, they've gone and decided to lock in Lissandra and Gragas as their first two picks going into their first match.
Yeah, of course, with the Talia taken away, Lissandra seems to be one of those natural next best options. Of course, Vladimir, Malzahar, other champions that we have seen here and there as combatant tools towards the Lissandra, but the beauty of the flex as well.
It's also just the beauty of Lissandra in general and everything that she's going to offer. So, as Rusty was saying earlier, you have that wave clear, you have the ability to roam around on the map all on her own with her claw, and then she also works wonderfully with that double teleport meta because she can immediately TP to one of the side lanes and throw down hard CC in that frozen tomb.
Well, we already saw Jin and Sivir banned out. So far, no AD carry picked up from either side of the map. We know Uzi is very notoriously known for picking up that Ashe, something that Scout was hovering over them, but decides to swap over and actually locks in Twisted Fate as his mid lane pick of choice, and Tarmkan should be locked in here for Clearlove, most likely going over towards Mako.
So for what it's worth, I would have preferred the Ashe here just to cement their team composition, unless they were worried that Twisted Fate was going to be picked away by Xiaohu, which is unrealistic to consider, right? By doing so, they now give over the option of what I'm going to say is the third best AD carry, but given that two are banned, probably the best AD carry that they could pick for themselves right now.
I have to completely agree. I mean, last time EDG and RNG faced in a best of 5, EDG really struggled in the draft phase, and RNG pretty much hands down beat them across the board. This time around, it looks like a very similar story, unless that Ashe doesn't get locked in. Because obviously with the Twisted Fate, with the possibility of Ashe, you're looking for a pick composition.
Yeah, but the cool thing, once again, of what EDG have put together is very global based. They can get around the map. Tarmkench can bring the Twitch with him. They could submarine their way towards mid lane or top lane if they'd like, and make plays consistently.
And you're still keeping that assassination pick identity to the composition if you do grab the Twitch.
And that still has a wide champion pool that you can play around with. We've seen the Kog'Maw being picked up by EDG quite a few times. We see him hovering over the Twitch as well. Hypercarry's played before. On the flip side, though, RNG, they decided to save their AD carry pick for last as they lock in Braum for their support, as well as Echo being locked in as most likely their top lane pick of choice.
Yeah, locking in that Echo. A strong champion, does well into the Gangplank as well, so they had the counter pick as an option available for them.
Meanwhile, EDG complete their team composition. They pick up Ashe for Deft, and they're going to be locking in Elise for Clearlove in the jungle.
Clearlove is not a known Elise player. I'm actually really surprised. We suspected that this pick would come out, but for MLXG, I like the fact that Elise is being picked up here. Again, it fits in that wheelhouse of everything Clearlove needs to do for this team. He needs to get involved with his lanes, start setting up pressure. It's a great dueling jungler, 1v1 across from Gragas. Now it's just about, can he execute on it?
Normally we see EDG, when Gragas is picked away from them, they normally default back to picking up Graves as their jungler of choice. This time around, like you said, pick up Elise, a champion that Clearlove doesn't normally pick going into his competitive matches. Still, though, waiting for RNG to lock in their final pick, and it is going to be the Caitlyn picked up by Uzi to go with the Braum that Mata will be playing heading onto Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, we don't have the signature Jinx pickup from Defter as Kog'Maw, but we do get a chance to look at Caitlyn, or Uzi's Caitlyn. I was almost like Caitlyn's Uzi. Same thing.
I'm very curious to see how this Caitlyn's going to go. It means ideally they'll be running some kind of siege composition. You look at the rest of what RNG have put together for themselves, it does ring true that they want to be sieging turrets and taking down their opponents. But Caitlyn, a strong lane bully champion against Ashe, who's quite strong at doing the exact same thing with those volleys. It's a dangerous bottom lane.
We take a look at the side of EDG, you know, not so much about sieging here, but lots of global pressure coming out from their team comp. Every single champion except for Elise really has an ability to affect the map from very, very far away.
And we talked about how EDG really have a very clear-cut blueprint about how they go about winning games. This composition fits exactly into that. It's about throwing all of your buttons, all of that pressure, and all of your champions at that bottom lane. So look for the level 6 Destiny, look for the level 6 Cannon Barrage, and look for the dive bottom.
That's what it's really about for EDG here. Their composition having an Ashe and a Twisted Fate screams pick comp to me against what is an engage-heavy composition from the opposite side here of RNG. Both teams have different styles, and they're very uniquely in their own way.
Certainly feels like it. Then we move into the jungle, which is a matchup that we've been talking about quite extensively so far. We talked about how MLXG really wants to go and find Clearlove, but it seems like the champs have been swapped over. MLXG's now the one that's on Gragas, whereas Clearlove is the man on Elise this time round.
But you have so much bully potential from RNG's side. A lot of these laners, Lissandra, Echo, and Caitlyn, should get the advantage and the upper hand in terms of the initial wave control.
We'll have to see how these two junglers are going to be impacting the game here. EDG taking on RNG. This is the first match of the grand finals of the summer split of the LPL. A lot is on the line for these two teams. They are both already locked in for the 2016 World Championships, but this best of 5 series will decide who is going to be the #1 seed from China.
And unsurprisingly, it makes sense that getting into this first game, we run comfortable champions for the most part, pretty much here from both of these teams.
You know, we talked about the solo lane matchups a little bit early on. Mouse gets Looper. We talk about comfort champs as well. Gangplank being picked up by Mouse up at the top side of the map. And we see Looper is picking up Echo. That's a champion that we've seen picked so much during the LPL playoffs.
Echo was played 17 times in the LPL playoffs alone. He's uncontested as the best top laner, but Gangplank's normally not left open, so a lot of pressure on Mouse. He can sit back and farm this one out, but he needs to be on point with these Cannon Barrage.
We'll have to see how Mouse is going to be able to do just that, but unfortunately it seems like we're having a couple of technical difficulties as we get into this first match between EDG and RNG. And hopefully be able to get those resolved as soon as possible. But guys, have the win conditions for these two teams changed at all? We've already talked about how EDG, once again, sticking to their true style, throwing everything they can towards the bottom lane. How are RNG going to be adapting coming into this game?
I think one to look towards is how RNG's bottom lane's sculpted, in particular their 2v2, not even including MLXG. They've got the Caitlyn, they've got the ability to sit back and place traps in defensive positions. Not only that, they have the Braum, who can do the exact same thing. They can double up and be lane bullies, but if they're worried that Clearlove's nearby or they don't have vision, they can just hang back, they can just play casually and just farm.
And you can actually see this statistic, 80 to 90% chance of being ahead at 20 minutes. They're a bit of a slow burn type of team in the LPL, whereas RNG, they're ahead at 10 minutes 80% of the time, and ahead at 20 minutes about 95% of the time. So they start fast and they get quicker.
And as our observer was very politely able to show us there, the first dragon spawning in this match is going to be that Infernal Dragon. And Dragon is an objective I believe RNG are very notoriously well known for being able to control. Controlling Infernal Dragons is especially important in the LPL.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be vital, honestly, for both of these teams to look towards the Infernal Drake. Scaling compositions can be spoken of for both of these teams, so getting that scaling Drake is a big deal.
Historically, throughout the LPL, RNG do have a much higher Dragon secure and priority rate. EDG more often on that Baron. And to be honest, I attribute a lot of the blue side victories that we've seen global to the Baron pit area. If you look at the shape of the map, on the blue side, Baron opens up into 3 different avenues. On purple side, you have to walk through 2 different choke points if you want to contest the Baron. There's a lot of AoE stacking abilities that are really popular in the meta, and you get punished very hard if you ever lose vision control of that area.
So the minions have spawned and crashed into their lanes here. We see both bottom lane AD carries and support started a camp at level 1 to try and hit level 2 as fast as they possibly can. MLXG started his red buff, whereas Clearlove started at his blue buff to start this game off, and MLXG, he's going to be a little bit unpredictable in terms of where he starts to Summoner's Rift with jungle pathing.
The only three junglers that diverge from the set standard pathing are MLXG, Dandy, and Swift. They are unpredictable wildcards. Clearlove, about 73% of the time, will start in the same place every time.
A couple of interesting things that have happened so far. Firstly, MLXG has been spotted, so that unpredictability is out the window. They know where he has to be from here on out. Not only that, mid lane for Scout is suffering quite severely, which means that if MLXG still wants to make a play, Xiaohu will be the first to rotate because of the control that he has.
And we said that was going to be a factor, the fact that Echo and Lysandra should get early control of these lanes and start opening up space and opportunities for MLXG to find Clearlove. And that's the key word. Find and disrupt him. MLXG doesn't have to kill Clearlove, he just needs to slow him down.
We can see down towards the bottom side of the map, Deft and Mako going up against Uzi and Mata. These are two superstar AD carries, and when we saw their standard lane matchups, they were out for blood. Meanwhile, though, Clearlove looking to try and make a gank on towards the mid lane. Xiaohu trying to take the claw back to safety. Neither the gold card nor the cocoon lands coming out from EDG's jungler and mid lane carry.
He was just trying to bait out a flash right there, the cheeky throwing the W and trying to make them predict that the animation is going to be the cocoon, but that's already diverging from the formula that EDG have set. Clearlove looking mid.
Yeah, I guess looking mid, having a Twisted Fate on the team is indirectly still looking bottom.
Yep.
So for what it's worth, it's a good move, as these two really are giving it to each other, and Looper consistently winning.
Yeah, Mouse already fairly low on health, and very low on mana as well.
He's going top.
Yep, there goes Pawn, looking to try and rotate towards the top side of the map. Looper being very aggressive towards Mouse, puts down the parallel convergence. Mouse will be no flash out of there, and there's a Twisted Fate behind him. Scout will get the gold card down, picks up first blood for EDG and game number 1.
And he just catches Xiaohu off of a cheeky back, so he forces Lysandra in. Xiaohu thinks that it's a truce, they're both going to
and now bottom.
Clearlove though, making a gank towards the bottom lane. There's a teleport coming in as well for RNG to kind of defuse the gank, and they're able to successfully stop the gank coming out from Clearlove.
Thankfully, Xiaohu does have teleport. Looper was indeed dead, so he'll come back to his top lane perfectly fine, but movements across the board here from EDG, that was so unpredictable from Scout. Nobody would have expected him to be top.
And again, taking advantage of that cheeky back, thinking that it was a truce, that they were both going to go grab their items and then appearing top lane. There is now a window where Xiaohu won't have that TP up and the Destiny could be available, so EDG can continue to apply the pressure and the speed.
And it's not just Scout's teleport that's going to be down. Looper, like you said, Rusty, had to use his teleport to get back to the lane onto the top side of the map. Mouse even using his to match on the top side, trying to farm up as evenly as he can with Looper's Echo.
Which again means for kind of the next 2 to 3 minutes that EDG have the opportunity to make a semi-global play on the bottom side of the map that RNG will not be able to answer.
Yeah, they can even make one mid lane really, because both top laners using their teleports, not a big deal this early in the game, except for the fact that Mouse will hit level 6 soon, and his ultimate will still do about 600 damage at level 1. If he hits it on a target with Thunderlords.
And even though we saw Scout rotate towards the top side of the map, we already seen Clearlove make his presence well known on the bottom side of Summoner's Rift. They had to use that teleport to defuse the gank, but they're probably going to throw even more resources down towards the bottom side, try and get Deft rolling as early as they possibly can.
So right now, information on the map, they do know where MLXG is. He was pinged out several times, so that does give Deft and Mako a bit more freedom, but I'm just really curious where Clearlove's going to act next. He's on the bottom side of your map right now. He's not going to do it.
That's cool.
He just snuck out of vision. Evaded the wards being placed down by EDG. Very clever pathing coming out from MLXG.
Ultimately not necessary, as he could have body slammed over the Herald wall, but it was cute, and so I'll pay it.
I just imagine him shimmying across a cliff, towing the line.
Meanwhile, we take a look towards the mid lane. Scouts going up against Xiaohu, just farming it out. Both mid laners very even in terms of CS, and also picked up the Negatron Cloak as their first item, trying to mitigate as much magic damage as possible, which there is an abundance of coming into this game. Yeah. Both junglers, top laners, even from the Cannon Barrage of the Gangplank, Looper dealing a lot as well.
There are so many pings happening right now. Mata is going nuts. We spoke about this in Champion Select. You know, Mata can't necessarily really focus on lane. He really depends on Uzi there because he is shot calling the map for them, as Clearlove's now spotted by some vision. And immediately the pings.
And as we expected, Clearlove down towards the bottom side of Summoner's Rift. As we take a look at this lane, neither Deft or Uzi have gone back to base yet, both using their potions, just farming up, and it seems like Deft and Mako are trying to zone out this Caitlyn and Brom.
Stopping them from recalling is the ultimate goal of both Deft and Mako here. Best case scenario for the Ashe Tarm Kenshin lane is they don't get back to the BF sword purchase. They just sit there for as long as they possibly can to make sure that they don't lose that laning phase. Base damage of an Ashe is the same as the Caitlyn, but the auto attacks start to be a big deal with Uzi's extra range and pressure with those traps.
However, RNG being very aggressive here. MLXG invades towards Clearlove's blue side of his jungle and takes blue buff away for himself.
But it was very clear what was happening. Scout and Clearlove know exactly what's up. The question is going to be, what will RNG do with that perfect blue timer? And will we continue to see staggered backs to try to defend that buff and possibly a way in for RNG to find Clearlove and skirmish him?
And this is the similarity we see between EDG and RNG when they go up against other opponents in the LPL. They very much like to go and contest for blue buff and red buff whenever they possibly can, especially while they're ahead.
The LPL will never let an opportunity go to fight someone. Primary difference between them and all the other global regions is that if they think it's a 50-50, they're willing to take that coin flip because they believe that they are the stronger and better players.
Yeah, also the original concept of the LPL is that resistance items aren't damage items, so if I outplay you, I'll always kill you.
Move down towards the bottom side of the map. Def take a little bit of damage from the ace in the hole. So as Mata being a bit cheeky, throwing out the Winter's Bite from Fog of War. We even saw MLXG give his blue buff on over towards Xiaohu in the mid lane, so Lissandra can have a much easier time wave clearing against this Twisted Fate. But so far, it's just about a 1,000 gold lead for EDG.
And the storm has not been weathered, but has passed for RNG. We talked about that slight window where EDG could have made a cross-map play. They chose not to, and in fact, RNG went on the offensive, able to steal away that blue buff. So now everything's kind of evened out, and we're trying to reset the map for the next play, and it looks to be bottom still.
Yeah, again, we see Clearlove moving down towards the bottom side of Summoner's Rift, looking to see if he can help out. Deft and Mako make sure the Superstar AD carry as well as his signature support can get the ball rolling. Deft is level 6, does have the Enchanted Crystal Hour available to start a fight if he needs to.
Having a rough time though, Def, as now the play's on.
There goes Time Catch. Arrow's going to connect. Mata gets locked down. Suddenly everybody's in this bottom lane. Scout comes down. Uzi's going to be the first to fall. Mako picks up that kill. Immediately teleport cancelled by Mouse, and Looper even uses his ultimate to get back to lane.
So they
one pick for EDG.
They don't need the window to do it. Instead, EDG just run over. They say, RNG can follow this. It doesn't matter. We beat them to the punch. Clearlove was there faster, as was Scout.
Yeah, the Window's having lane control in that middle lane. Scout's able to have a presence. Even with the minimal mana that he had available to him, he still gets enough to make it work. And EDG, Clearlove's the only person who doesn't have a global influence, but when you get in Tom Kench's belly, you definitely can.
And it's very surprising because Clearlove doesn't even have an assist yet. He's just been impactful due to his presence alone on Summoner's Rift.
The old Evelyn factor. Clearlove playing Eve without even playing Eve. No one's surprised.
But just with those two picks that EDG have picked up so far, they're already 2,000 gold ahead of RNG. And again, it really feels like MLG has not been able to catch out Clearlove inside of his own jungle, not be able to shut him down. And all of that presence has spilled over towards the bottom lane where EDG have had such a massive impact so far.
The real benefactor of this, however, is the mid lane where Scout is starting to ramp up quite severely 1-0-1. Whenever he gets that recall in, he'll probably have the Abyssal Scepter, if not more.
We see once again both teleports are down for the side of EDG. So like you mentioned earlier, Frosco, and there is that short window of time that EDG can take advantage and use that global team composition they put together.
But that makes EDG telegraphed, and we said this at the beginning. MLXG, everyone knows where EDG are going to target the map, where they're going to gank. So he just needs to be right place, right time. And Mata and Uzi, they don't have to win this 2v2. Uzi's going to be a monster late game no matter what. That's just things that Uzi does. They just need to survive it. So just pull the wave back, play even, wait for your summoners.
This is a really good opportunity though for RNG. Both MLXG and Xiaohu only now have been spotted by that vision. The assumption is that Lissandra is nearby, but they have no idea where this Gragas is. For once in this game, MLXG could be proactive and make something work.
Now, though, it seems like she's going to be heading back to base. Both teams just very comfortable with farming up against one another for now, waiting for important cooldowns and big back timers to come up first. We haven't seen either team move towards the Infernal Dragon yet either.
He has to stay. So what's happening right now is MLXG has acknowledged that someone's nearby, and they're the ones trying to set this up as best they can so they don't die.
They have cleared up down this bottom lane. There's the cannon barrage. Chadakris arrow comes as well. They've locked down Mata. He's taking a lot of damage. Steph's going to pick up a kill for himself as EDG find another pick.
Globals everywhere. I think it's safe to say Scout the only one who's not nearby, but it doesn't even matter. Mouse's damage is huge. Deft hits the arrow, and Clearlove just saves onto his CC for as long as he could.
Yeah, finally gets the assist, so Clearlove on the board now with the single assist, and the Destiny is still available, so EDG can look for a 1-2 punch here, whether through invading RNG's jungle or contesting this Infernal.
And there is what EDG decide to do. They start up the Infernal Giant, looking to take that down as soon as they possibly can. Very firm in control of this early game, EDG, looking very strong to start off this series.
This is a commanding game one early game from EDG thus far. Of course, RNG still having a scaling composition, still having a crowd control heavy team fight essentially based composition. If they start getting picks onto the board for themselves, then they can bring it back.
And the pick looks to be heading top lane. Although I think Mouse knows exactly what's up, getting the cheeky triple barrel.
In fact, RNG sending 5 members all towards the top side of the map. Mouse going to have to be incredibly careful. No cannon barrage to keep him safe.
Twisted Fate, Elise, still nearby. There's always going to be options of counter-attacks for EDG. The question is, do they let him die or let the tower?
Seems like he's able to get away fast enough, so this turret's going to be under siege. EDG not sieging the bottom lane turret, looking to try and get towards the top side of the map. They're looking for a fight. They're going for it. They're looking for the engage. Mata already on the retreat. Uzi has the 90 caliber net his way out of there as well, but it's just going to be a siege between the two teams.
Def still has the arrow, so if RNG overstay their welcome, they're looking at an Ashe ult to the face.
This is literally a 5v5 siege at 13 minutes because of the first brick. Like, they are looking to get that first blood on the turret.
Well, this turret is incredibly low. RNG just to push through to get it. Uzi taking a lockdown. Scout takes down Mata. Shao's into the back lines. Pops the ultimate on himself to keep himself alive. Has to flash out. EDG now moving forward. A big ultimate comes out from MLXG. Allows RNG to take down Mata. But it's going to be the Shao that falls next. It's just a chaotic fight between EDG and RNG.
But in the end, RNG get control of the situation and should have the incoming creep wave to push down this structure and claim the first brick. Uzi coming up huge right now.
No, so the Gangplank has his ulti back available again, and it's entirely diffused now, except
TP.
they're still going for it.
Teleport's coming in. Looper to try and get the flank around Mouse. This turret will fall. Uzi picks it up. Echo now on top of the Pirate. He eats an orange, but he's only K for so long. Has to flash away, trying to go toe-to-toe against the Echo. Tries to kite out of power, look convergence, but Looper picks it up, takes the ultimate out, flashes away, and now Scout can't quite chase down the Echo.
Big play once again. Looper with the teleport. The turret was already going down from the Caitlyn, and Gangplank, even with the ultimate, does not have enough to defuse it from them as we get to see this one again. And Xiaohu, he thought he had the perfect fight. He actually engaged incredibly well, but nobody dies. EDG super low, only Mako. That's enough for them to effectively win, but it's the health bars that are the real issue here for EDG.
Good follow-up from MLXG on a good cask, as well as, like you said, Xiaohu hitting a really nice ultimate to keep everyone low enough so that Uzi is threatening.
So RNG pick up that first structure advantage, but there's still 2,000 gold behind EDG, who are 5-2 up in terms of kills. Gives us some time to check on the items that have been picked up by these two teams. Abyssal Scepter was the first rush coming out from Twisted Fate. Lissandra mid lane going for the Hextech Protobelt here, still holding on to that Negatron cloak to kind of mitigate some of the damage that will be dealt by all the magic damage that comes out from these two teams.
I mean, the big breaking point is going to be that Trinity Force sitting up top in the Gangplank's hands. Both AD carries exactly even, looking for that Stixay build that he popularized at MSI. So looking for more of a siege-oriented build, which makes sense because we shouldn't come to life or death throws over this dragon.
Speaking of Trinity Force, we'll have to kind of check in later to see what Looper picks up on Echo on the top side of the map. We've seen a lot of Echoes pick up the Trinity Force lately. Some still go back towards the Iceborne Gauntlet instead.
And the Sunfire Cape that he's picking up now is generally an indicator of your team struggling. So you're trying to be as tanky and as early game efficient as you possibly can be to continue scaling, but it takes a lot longer to get that Trinity Force afterwards if he so chooses.
We'll have to check in with Looper later and see what he decides to pick up. For now, it is going to be the Ocean Dragon that comes up next. Like you said, Frostgrin, it's not going to be something that we would see these two teams fight super heavily for, but still a dragon nonetheless, something that RNG pride themselves in being able to control effectively, even though EDG have the first dragon of the game. For now, RNG sending a lot of members towards the top side of the map, looking to see if they can hunt down Mouse, whereas EDG sticking to their guns, sending as many people as they can towards the bottom lane.
So RNG are trading their tower for control over that blue side jungle. We said that now that they have the perfect timer on the blue, that RNG are going to contest this every single time. He'll start with the Rift Herald to buy them enough time before it comes up, but they want to fight.
It seems like RNG are going to be able to pick this one up. Nobody from EDG are there yet, but now making the rotation over. There's the Destiny coming out from Twisted Fate. MLSG going to get locked down. Cannon Barrage slowing him down, dealing a lot of damage as well. Tom Kench even moving up towards this lane. Scout, big caught out though. He's being singled out by Lupo and MLSG. He's still alive. Gragas lives. Clearlove has to flash over to pick up the kill. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but EDG stopped RNG from taking down the Rift Herald.
Yeah, very important that Clearlove actually didn't get stunned there by the Echo. And EDG make a play. Scout not having flash means the Scout is going to go down. And good decisions reactively from RNG to ensure that they get the best from a bad situation.
And that's really been the story of RNG so far this game. They've made most of their progress through reactive plays as opposed to being proactive.
Whereas EDG now look to try and siege the mid lane outer turret. This should fall down rather quickly. Deft, Mouse, and Mako getting good damage on towards this. Clearlove even looking for the flank to try and catch out Uzi. And now EDG are 2-1 up in turrets.
Yeah, no teleport used by Xiaohu. Doesn't want to get towards that middle lane, so they sack the turret. And that means EDG have just gone from bottom to mid. They've taken 2 major objectives around this map and opened the entirety of Summoner's Rift up for themselves to start making big plays around objectives.
And naturally an open map makes those plays so easy because they do have so many global ultimates, particularly Twisted Fate on his Destiny.
Ocean Dragon's going to be coming up in 15 seconds as well. We'll have to see if either team makes their way towards the objective. Rift Herald was previously started by RNG, but it seems like they're not looking towards it anymore.
This comes down to, do EDG think that they're strong enough to win a 5v5? You do have the Infinity Edge completed on Death. If so, they'll go to contest the Dragon. Again, it's not a high priority Dragon. A free objective is a free objective, but the most important thing right now is the possibility of beating RNG in a straight fight. If EDG don't think it's worth their time, they should probably just focus into that top lane and look to pick up the last standing outer.
Yeah, I'm not actually sold on them being able to win a 5v5 just yet, even though they are doing quite well and have big item breakpoints. The thing is, RNG's designed as a team to still win those 5v5s quite heavily. The Aegis as well for MLXG, so rushing defensive stats for his entire team for the purpose of 5v5 team fighting means that RNG are still set up reasonably well.
EDG still have Mouse split pushing on the top side of the map. The rest of RNG were actually congregating around the Ocean Dragon, finally sending Luba back towards the top side of Summoner's Rift to pick up the farm. That Gangplank has pushed in towards his turret.
So what EDG need to do right now is they need to create a pressure point to pull RNG out of the river so they can safely walk in and start clearing out that vision. Hopefully they can catch RNG cheating through their own jungle between these 2 lanes and then turn that into a pick. But RNG actually looking at possibly going on the offensive right now as Xiaohu's standing in the wings looking for his own pick.
Yeah, he's a one-man army. It is about to... Nope.
Actually locks down Scout there, throws the claw out to try and run away, forced to use the ultimate to get to safety here. For now though, they have a time catch, as well as the Destiny coming out, looking to lock him down. Clearlove's down here, gets the Cocoon down, and Xiaohu gets taken down by EDG.
I have no idea what just happened there from Xiaohu. He tried to go in and do damage as he took the claw out, but just decided he didn't want to take the claw.
In response, however, RNG are trying to play, again, reactive League of Legends on the map. They have a wave building up into the top lane. They're trying to trade Scout as well as the Dragon for this inner top tower.
But Deft and Mouse are on the top side of the map. Chata Chrisar comes out trying to buy them some time. Ace in the hole will deal a bit of chip damage towards the Ashe. This turret now going to get fortification with no minions on the top side of the map. A Scout has already pushed through towards the bottom lane. So RNG get an even trade in terms of turrets. Well, they might not even get an even trade. So they don't take down the top lane in the turret.
They didn't have the wave, so the 66 damage reduction does apply to the inner tower, and they're competing against Scout, who has a wave, as well as that Lich Bane. So Twisted Fate coming up trumps there. And this is the thing. Mouse stepped up for EDG over the course of the regular season, but so did Scout.
Yeah, of course, rule of thumb with Twisted Fates, if you see a Lich Bane, it usually means they want to split push, and this does, once again, come back to EDG's strategy entirely. They don't want to actually hit those 5v5s. They will win map trades if they've got Mouse on the gangplank, which is the most important piece of this puzzle to me, to stop them from actually sieging with his ultimate, with his kegs.
But now EDG are 5,000 gold up ahead of RNG just 21 minutes into this match. Already looking incredibly strong with just having such a huge presence on Summoner's Rift so far.
More important, however, is that EDG have now opened up this opportunity to look for a 1-3-1 because Twisted Fate has itemized into split pushing. They have more control over the bottom side of the map because they did manage to push down the inner tower. And as our attention and focus turns towards this Baron, EDG have a lot more windows to play around with that to secure this objective.
Now you can see a heat map on the bottom right hand of your screen for Elise showing where Clearlove has been throughout during this time on Summoner's Rift. Mostly on his side of Rift and a lot of attention towards the bottom lane.
Yeah, surprisingly a lot less red than I expected on the bottom side, but it was the adaptation very early into this game that sets Scout up, that then sets bottom lane up as they want Xiaohu.
Once again, using the time catch as well as the Destiny to try and lock down Alessandro. Arrow comes out from Ash. Xiaohu forced to use the ultimate on himself, but Scout's just waiting with the gold card, and Def gonna get another pick for EDG.
And he's just delaying the inevitable, but Looper now caught up.
He's in a lot of trouble. Mouse gonna be chasing down the kegs, dealing a lot of damage. There's no ultimate available for this Echo, and a double kill will come out for Deft.
EDG, yeah, starting to look fantastic. Baron? No way.
It'd be super risky because MLXG is still alive, level 11 to level 12, so Clearlove does have the smite advantage, but trying to zone with the barrels.
They're starting it up. Mouse already got some good damage on towards Uzi and Mata with the kegs over the wall. And they're still chipping away this Baron very low. There's the ultimate coming out from Mata. MLXG looking to go in, try and get the steal. Pops the Aegis, trying to get the extra damage. He goes in, doesn't get it. Will be secured by Clearlove, and RNG lose the Baron.
But the confidence to take a 50-50.
Yeah, again, the Baron decision was huge from EDG.
And with that, EDG now 8,000 gold in the lead at the moment. With that Baron, going to be able to push through as well and try and take this game to RNG. Trying to take down the first game of this Best of 5 series especially. An important game to be able to take.
Yeah, it definitely is, and they've started this one on the right foot. EDG, decent, sizable gold lead, all of the momentum, the draft, the team composition of dreams for the way they want to play against RNG.
And it seems like they've been able to execute that quite fantastically as well so far, Rusty. They were able to, get to the bottom lane, make sure Deft and Mako have a good time down. They use that global pressure to get picks wherever they can, and they took objectives afterwards as well. Now with the Baron, they're just going to be able to destroy structures wherever they can.
Yeah, the sieging from EDG that'll come out. Now, it's difficult to do, once again, because RNG can still engage. They've got a CC-heavy composition. And right now, they're looking to potentially utilize that.
RNG looking to try and move towards the top side of Summoner's Rift. EDG looking to still try and siege the top lane inner turret.
A good opportunity once again, EDG to put a 1-3-1 in. Now they've got that Baron buff, 10 times easier for them.
It does.
So far, they're using 4 members from the side of EDG on the top side of Summoner's Rift. Scout still split pushing in the mid lane. They're going to be able to take down the top lane inner turret. Mako and Deft work on this one and are able to successfully take it down. Now the rest of EDG moving towards the mid lane. Looking to try to get the pincer on towards MLXG, who takes a lot of damage from those barrels. But they get what they came for and they take down the mid lane inner turret.
Yeah, once again, another turret goes down. EDG still in absolute control. And honestly, it's Xiaohu. He's having a rough game.
He certainly is. I mean, a lot of pressure coming from Clearlove in towards the mid lane starting. Now, just taking so much damage because EDG already incredibly far ahead here.
Yeah,
and they're just taking down structure after structure, being very clinical. And this is exactly how we expect EDG to clean out games in the LPL when they get ahead.
It's a game 1 of a best of 5. It's cool, calm, and collected from EDG in particular. So they're able to play it slow, just play to their own strengths.
But eventually this Baron buff would have to run out here as EDG. They've been able to use it rather effectively so far. Took down all the outer structures, all the inner structures are down as well. And they've built themselves up a nice 10,000 gold lead to try and take another team fight against RNG.
Testing. Oh, thank God.
Welcome back, Frosker.
Oh, that was scary. Not as scary as RNG's prospects at winning this game, however. Being 10k gold down, they're pretty much looking at the Miracle team fight and the Miracle setup as MLXG might actually get caught. Deft actually holds on the arrow.
CDG did just all go back to base. They've now set themselves up with big item spikes. They should be able to utilize these item spikes to continue this snowball further, because a lead this big at 26 minutes is the lights out value.
Ninja, not a team that would usually mess around. Very clinical in how they want to execute their late game strategy.
Again, it is a struggle for EDG to break that inhib line, however. Their composition really isn't set up. It's weird to say that it's not set up for sieging because they do have great tower damage, but it's still very dangerous for them to approach a tower.
Yeah.
They can't necessarily threaten with dive. They can pretty much zone you off of a tower by threatening with the cannon barrage as well as the ash arrow. But they're looking for picks and they're looking to make movements around the map as opposed to just pushing down a turret.
Yeah, so the way that they'll actually win a sieging environment is by poking you down, utilizing the Gangplank barrels and what is now a second Ocean Drake that they have. So their sustain is there. They should be able to out-sustain RNG, particularly because there is no sustain on the opposite side of RNG.
CDG once again trying to take as many objectives as they can away from RNG, kind of suffocate them 28 minutes into this match. And RNG just forced to stay inside of their base and farm up wherever they can.
It just means that when EDG do finally pull the trigger, it's that much more important and it has to be that much more perfect. Because even with the gold deficit, it's still kind of a tricky scenario to manage.
Well, Baron buff is now down as well, so sieging is going to be a lot harder for EDG.
I have a feeling that we're probably just going to see this stall out until the next rotation of Baron, which again gives RNG this chance to sit back and to breathe. We do have another opportunity. Sit back, wave clear, look for the pick in the setup because we know EDG need this Baron to close us out.
Unfortunately, they only have 2 of their 3 lanes, so whilst they are getting an opportunity to breathe, it's still mostly suffocated. Sharing farm between Looper and Xiaohu means that neither of them are getting what they want. Uzi, the recipient of that bottom lane farm, so only the Caitlyn's going to be this big threat, and RNG is saying, we are CC bots now. Uzi is our carry.
We can already see the time before Baron has started. 1 minute 30 till that's going to be back up. Smarter takes a bit of damage over the wall from Deft as well as Clear Love. They still have scouts split pushing on the bottom side of the map, trying to use the Destiny to get towards the mid lane if EDG get into a sticky situation. Mouse now on the top side, still looking to continue his split push.
Cute.
Good use of Repel to avoid the ace in the hole coming out from Uzi.
That Ocean Dragon coming in spades here for EDG as well as they continue to stand here, apply pressure, keep RNG locked down, and put as much chip damage as possible before falling back to this Baron. Although with 1 minute to go, they need to start getting in their backs, picking up their pink wards, and taking control of that area.
I guess the question to me is, do they actually want to go for it, or are they looking to siege instead as a primary objective? Finally, they do make the right decision. Should be item spikes across the board again.
CDG do decide to retreat in towards RNG side of the jungle, head back to base, pick up their next few items. You can already see Deft. He's picked up his Infinity Edge earlier, now has the Runan's Hurricane as well as the Rapid Fire Cannon, so 80% crit chance coming out from this Ashe. Has a Negatron Cloak as well to try and mitigate the damage dealt by not only the front line of RNG, but also the assassination potential coming out from Lissandra. And Sonya's Hourglass and Void Staff being completed by Scout as well. So the carries from the side of EDG incredibly strong to go into this next Baron fight.
Yeah, that Void Staff's actually one of the really big breaking points. So he does a lot of damage now to pretty much everybody on the side of RNG. They had that double Aegis, they've got Spirit Visage, they had magic resistance everywhere. So now they can effectively have that one member be doing damage consistently. Meanwhile, Deft always has been.
And the scary thing for RNG as we look at this next big 5v5 potentially is that even if you get the perfect ultimate of locking down Twisted Fate of blowing up Ashe, you're dealing with 3 different threats, and EDG now threatening.
Yep, they're pulling the trigger, they've engaged, and like she has to try and flash out of this one. Mata goes in, Looper trying to get into the back lines as Destiny's being used by Scout. He's on top of Uzi. Uzi gets deleted by Mouse, and EDG just plow through RNG. Looper forced to use the ultimate to try and keep himself alive. Xiaohu's dead. LXG's gone down. The only member left alive for RNG is Looper, and EDG looking to move towards RNG's base.
And that's going to be game number 1 for EDG. I can't imagine it would take a miracle for them to mess this up, but just clinical and suffocating across the board. Mako now just buying Looper's time.
Well, he's been able to eat up the Echo, trying to keep himself alive and make sure Looper's stuck down here with him. But EDG, with that team fight, they're able to push through. They take down the Nexus turrets, and game number 1 falls to Edward Gaming.
Fantastic performance from EDG in this game number 1. For minute number 1, they did not look like they were slowing down, and that momentum carried them all the way through to this game #1 win.
I'm glad that you used the word momentum, because the big high point that I wanted to hit when that Baron came down is the confidence of EDG to pick a 50-50 Baron and to say, I'm going to win this smite here. MLXG got into the pit. He hit it with the cask, he went for the steal, unfortunately didn't come up with it, but like for Clearlove to have that confidence, this is mine no matter what, I think says a lot about EDG going into this series.
It certainly felt like it. EDG had a game plan. We talked about their game plan going into this best of 5 series, and they executed it beautifully in game #1. It seems like RNG really need to go back into the drawing board and kind of figure out what they're going to be doing in game #2.
Yeah, this global or semi-global composition, utilizing Tom Kench to get a lease around whenever the Ash Arrow was connecting. Deft, incredible positioning. EDG pretty much just a covered a game 1 victory, and RNG, you're right. They need to reassess their strategy because it seems like EDG have their number.
And that really starts in the draft phase. And kind of the big glaring standout issue to me is that gangplank. I don't think Mouse will so easily get his hands on that champion again.
So we can take a look at some of the highlights coming into the game. This was that very early gank coming out from Scout. Level 4, roaming all the way from mid lane to the top lane when Lissandra was going back to base. And we just saw this time and time again, EDG picked on this bottom lane so hard.
Yeah, this was really well done. It just keeps happening. Again, that first blood that Scout gets, the rotation towards top lane, all of that then spills over towards this bottom lane with GP ultimates, with Twisted Fate making appearances constantly. And Deft, honestly, I think he was the sleeper OP player in this game. He did so much work.
Also had a big priority pick like that Ashe as the arrow comes out there on Mata, who's quickly deleted.
EDG, they took this fight off the top side of the map. RNG rotated all 5 members trying to take down this outer turret. But EDG defended it so well and held onto it for so long, picking up pick after pick, and made sure they stayed in this game, made sure they're able to use their global pressure advantage.
But here's the thing. They shouldn't have really had a global pressure advantage. Yes, you're effectively using champions with lower cooldowns on a semi-global presence than a teleport cooldown, but there were plenty of windows like this on your screen where RNG had the TP advantage, but it just wasn't executed well enough. They didn't use their windows when these cooldowns were down effectively.
And something we talked about going into this game as well. MLXG, we talked about how his win condition from RNG, he has to find Clearlove, single him out. If he can't kill him, make sure the bottom lane's safe. He didn't do that in this game, and it's on Greg as the champion that's not very well known for doing that. Yeah,
it's funny. The global composition that EDG had definitely did work. RNG definitely had windows to combat that strategy and try and implement their own. But down to the bare necessities, the essentials of this game is that MLXG finds him. He did not find him, and Clearlove found the victory.
Xiaohu was also found quite a bit as we look back to back-to-back picks on this Lissandra.
And every single one just looks like a highlight reel of Scout teleporting to a lane, popping to Destiny, Timecatch following up, and this was that final team fight, which involves Scout moving into the backlines to the end of it and just obliterating Uzi.
Yeah, fighting in a choke point against the Gangplank's already a big no-no, but the Twisted Fate making big plays with Mouse to assassinate Uzi, a lot of work from EDG across the board.
And with that final play, EDG were able to take down RNG's Nexus and pick up game #1 of this best of 5 series. As you can see, the damage dealt during that game, Deft was absurd. He did so much damage.
But also look at Gangplank's damage. That's what we're talking about. That is absurd, and that's mostly through his ultimate. I mean, Mouse wasn't really participating in those big 5v5s when he was laying down the big barrels outside of zoning on that Baron, but laying down really key cannon barrage.
Yeah, definitely was. A great job from Mouse, and I mean across the board from all of these members. As a deserving MVP does go to him.
Yes. Speaking of that, Mouse is able to pick up the MVP for EDG in game #1. Had some fantastic cannon barrages. Very crucial, and not only the early ganks that they got down into towards the bottom lane, but he also held his own in the top lane against Looper, was able to team fight incredibly well for EDG as well in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, the big thing is that a siege composition was RNG strategy. They were trying to take down turrets, and the Gangplank was just saying no every single time, uses the cannon barrage, uses the kegs, denies one big winning point of RNG strategy, and it felt like they just got ran over past there.
And again, we talked about this before. I mean, the instantaneous adjustment is taking that off of the draft, and I don't expect that we'll see GP for the rest of the series, or at least we shouldn't for how useful that champion is right now in the meta. But still, RNG had windows where they could have made counterplays, where they could have been more than just reactive. They could have been proactive. They had the double teleport, but they just didn't do it. So it's not just a drafting failure, it's also just an execution failure.
Which is interesting to see as well, because a lot of teams, when they play against EDG, and EDG's on the blue side, they decide to ban out the Gangplank. So they've already seen how powerful powerful of a pick it is been for EDG, especially since it's a flex pick as well. We know it can be played in the mid lane, especially when they have Pawn playing on the roster, but it's mostly going towards Mouse, and it seems like one of his most comfortable champions going into any match.
Yeah, also just one of the best meta champions as well that you'll start to see more and more bans of. Nah, the other standout that we just didn't really see on Summoner's Rift, and as the meta and the series progresses, I think we'll start to find more and more top lane focused, whereas right now, it started with that AD carry being hit.
And I think it's really important that we force, or RNG force Mouse to face Looper. Don't give him a champion that can just sit back and accumulate all of this farm and get to those big item spikes. Make him come out from underneath his tower, because we saw again and again, Looper was winning those trades. He can bully Mouse around if you give him the opportunity.
And it really feels like the solo laners were left untouched, because there was so much map pressure coming out from EDG that MLXG just had his hands full coming into the game. He couldn't single out Clearlove, he couldn't impact the solo lanes, and he couldn't help out his bottom lane either.
He wasn't having the best game, MLXG, and he tried that one big Baron steal. Could have been the momentum turnaround from RNG, but it was never going to be, unfortunately. EDG too confident.
I actually think that the bigger failure, though, is on Xiaohu and Looper, respectively.
Yeah.
They had the initial shove. So Lissandra shoves Twisted Fate in. Echo's going to get the shove in on Gangplank, but they didn't do anything with these pressure points by locking down the enemy champions. Again, they just kind of sat, or they were late to rotations.
Well, with that, EDG were able to pick up game number 1 over against RNG, but it's still a best of 5 series. We're going to go into a very quick break, but we'll be back with game 2 in just a bit.